أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Hey Techies, hope you're all doing well. A few weeks ago I published a video on YouTube about notice periods, and since then a number of individuals have got in contact with me and have asked me to follow up with an exit strategy for a long notice period. So that's 3 months, 4, 5 or 6 months. So before I get into the meat of things, I just want to caveat out this message by saying that there's two sides to this coin. You have the employee on one side and then the employer on the other side. So this impacts both parties equally. The employer, for example, could be in a situation where they're not doing so well in terms of profits and they need to let some heads go. And if they have to offer a 3-month notice period to individuals, that's a long time before they can start saving some money to keep the business running. It must be said though that the problem does really manifest itself with employees. And when I did my research on YouTube, I came across content largely from India, and this was no surprise to me because I've worked for organizations out of India. I've got many ex-colleagues and friends from India, and I've reviewed many CVs out of India from Techies, and I can confirm that indeed this problem does really present itself very well from that place. The situation in India is down to numbers which seems to exacerbate the problem, okay? The population of India is 1.5 billion, that's more than China. And just to put things further in context, the total number of employees for the 4 tech giants, that's Wipro, Infosys, TCS and HCL, comes to around 1.5 million. Let's compare that with Microsoft globally, which stands at 220,000. That's 85% more employees out of those 4 tech giants than Microsoft globally alone, okay? So let's just keep those numbers in mind. Now, in terms of exit strategy, when I ran a query on Gemini, the top message from there was to enter some kind of discussion with your employer. You know, I can't really buy into that or subscribe to that. When I say subscribe, I'm not talking about subscribing to the channel. I'm talking about agreeing with that. Because if you go to your employer and you say to him or her, let's say your manager, that you would like to discuss your notice period, at that junction, it's obvious that you're thinking about leaving and the conversation's not really going to go down well. So I'm not entirely sure why the advice that individuals have published on the internet includes having that discussion with your employers. Maybe if you're in a very, very strong position, you've been with your employer for a long time, you can say, look, you know, I'm not thinking about leaving at the moment, but my notice period is quite long. And if it was reduced to 2 months or 1 month, that would be highly appreciated. I mean, that kind of conversation might be more plausible. In any case, I'll now turn to the exit strategy that I advise for employees. The first thing that an employee could do is something called gearing up. Now, what is this term, gearing up? Okay, it's a term that I've come across previously in financial context, but I'll tell you what it means here in this video. What it means is you need to skill yourself up, get your IT certifications all up to date, and make sure your skills are all up to date with the latest technologies so that you will be in demand at the end of a 3-month notice period, let's say as an example, and you didn't secure a role by then. So that's the first thing. The next thing, effectively, what you could do is offset any holidays that you may have from your employer. And typically in the West, that can be anything from around 20 to 25 days. And for some senior members of staff, that can be even more than that and run up to 30 days. Now, some organizations allow you to carry these holidays through to the next year. but some insist that you must use up those holidays in that given year. Whatever the case, you could use those holidays to offset your notice period. And let me just run you through that. Let's say, for example, you had 6 weeks holidays owed to you and you attended an interview and you get asked that classic question: what is your notice period? You could say it's 3 months, but actually I'm owed holidays, so it will be half of that, which is 6 weeks. 6 weeks is much more palatable to an employer or potential employer than obviously 3 months or even longer than that. So that's really another effective way that you can build an exit strategy for moving on. The third thing you could do is get ready to do another job in the interim, whether that's a part-time job, something in the gig economy, a 0 hours contract job, just to keep some financials coming in if you need it. The fourth thing I was going to say is that when you're working and you're gearing up to an exit strategy, if you can save up a sum of money that can carry you through 1 month, 2 or 3 months, so that if you didn't secure a role or the right role by the end of 3 months, then at least you had some financial leverage there to see you through until you do secure a role. So these are the things that I think that you should be thinking about when it comes to exit strategy. I hope you've found this information useful. Take care, share and subscribe until next time, and goodbye.